A News 3 investigation reveals Black people are more likely to be wrongfully incarcerated for crimes they did not commit than any other group in America. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, while Black people are just over 13% of the U.S. population, there are 53% of the 3,200 exonerations since 1989. I analyzed the registry's numbers for Virginia. Data shows of the 64 people exonerated in the Commonwealth since 1989, half of them are Black men. While those men have been exonerated, there's a number of people who were freed because the evidence shows they're innocent. But the courts and previous governors have yet to exonerate them. As a few of them shared with me during a conversation at the UVA Innocence Project, those men are asking, what more do they have to prove?
They actually allowed me to be encaged in that prison.
A horrific experience shared among these men.
Incarceration is damaging to the mind, the body, and the spirit, especially the spirit.
Their bond forged in a bondage that evidence indicates they never should have endured.
The relationships that we shared, that's what helped me get through. We did it.
Each man convicted of crimes in the Commonwealth in the 90s when incarceration rates started soaring nationwide.
So you can clearly see that during our particular time of incarceration, something was wrong with the justice system.
Roger Fentress was 16 years old when he was convicted of murder in Richmond. He'd spent 24 years in prison when former Governor Ralph Northam set him free in 2020.
So I fainted when I was convicted, but I didn't cry or shed a tear when I was sentenced because I knew that wasn't my sentence. That ain't what God had for me.
Darnell Phillips was 19 years old when he was sentenced to life for the rape of a Virginia Beach girl. He was paroled in 2018 after nearly 28 years in prison.
And like they threw me away, you know, because like I didn't matter, like my life didn't matter, like my breath on earth didn't matter.
Messiah Johnson was 24 when he was sentenced to essentially life in prison for a beauty salon robbery in Norfolk. I broke the story about his quest for freedom in 2017. He was released by former Governor Terry McAuliffe the following year after 21 years in prison.
I fought for my freedom since day one, since the day they put the handcuffs on me.
In all, these men have spent more than 70 years behind bars.
This is a problem. It needs to be addressed.
The UVA Innocence Project estimates anywhere between 40,000 and 230,000 prisoners are actually innocent. So what's driving this? The National Registry of Exonerations points to mistaken witness identification, which is more likely to happen to people of color, misconduct by police and prosecutors, and false or misleading evidence.
Seek justice and not conviction.
In Phillips' Virginia Beach case in 1990, the little girl identified him as the rapist, but Innocence Project attorneys learned that was only after Beach police misled the little girl about the weight of evidence against Phillips. Attorneys also learned that the DNA evidence excluded Phillips as the perpetrator. The victim now supports Phillips' exoneration.
You can clearly see that something was wrong.
In Fentress' case, the Innocence Project learned the woman who identified him in that 1996 Richmond murder told the detective she was intoxicated during the interrogations. She initially identified someone else, but the detective did not disclose that during the trial.
I want to be vindicated, and exoneration is my path to that.
And in Johnson's case, a victim in the 1997 Norfolk beauty salon robbery he was accused of identified him days later from a distance at night while police surrounded Johnson, the definition of a suggestive show-up. At sentencing, a family friend helped Johnson keep the faith.
My head must have went down a little bit. She had the awareness to say, hold your head up. We ain't gonna stop fighting.
Come on.
And you know, I just kind of stood up straight, and I've been standing up straight since then.
Come on.
And now side by side with his brothers in their journey for justice.
I see Messiah like family.
Yeah,
that's
family.
what I see him as.
Yeah.
I met Roger and Roger like Roger like little brother.
I met his name. I just want to live.
And they are. Phillips is a pastor. Johnson has his own trucking business. Still, Virginia courts have failed to exonerate them, but Governor Glenn Youngkin can with an absolute pardon.
I just been waiting for someone to do the right thing. All I want is for that last shackle on me, that last shackle to be broken off of me. We're gonna stand before God. My conscience is clear.
Governor Youngkin has until the end of his term to exonerate them, making them eligible for compensation from the state. But what's the solution to stop wrongful incarcerations in the first place? Some prosecutors say more diversity among prosecutors and police is a start, and tougher scrutiny of using eyewitness identification alone, which is the leading cause of wrongful convictions. You may remember my investigation into former Chesapeake basketball coach Brian Falcon's conviction. He was set free after our reports revealed the victim in a 2012 robbery identified him in a suggestive show-up, and our reports revealed the DNA collected from the crime scene did not match Falcon. He was freed in January and has yet to be exonerated either. To learn more about the unreliability of using eyewitness identification alone and the wrongful incarceration rates in Virginia, click inside this story at WTKR.com. Jessica Larche, News 3.